So the in the last session actually my recording got corrupted, so I was not able to upload it. So in today's session I will try to not make that mistake again. Uh, it happened that it got somewhere or the other some corruption happened. Okay, so now if we want to do the testing of the time invariance, in the last class what we were doing were we were discussing this one and this one, and we left after that. So in this case, if you want to calculate the to test the time invariance of this particular function, so what you will do is you will again write like this, and once you do a time shift onto the input signal, then what you will get is a t minus tau here, and you are calling that as yat, and then what you do, you again do a time shift on the time variable also. So once you do a time shift on a time variable, because earlier you were doing time shift on the input, but now you are doing a time shift on the time variable t, and you are calling the output ybt as such, you are calling it by yb, and then the shifting that will happen is again 3 cos t minus tau, and you observe that both of them, this one and this one, are both equal. So this proves that this particular system is time invariant. And same for this particular thing. Here you see you are actually doing a time shift on the input signal. So it's like yat equal to 3 cos t x t minus tau. But when you are doing time shift on the time variable t, then the output that you are getting is yb, which will be now 3 cos t minus tau, because now you are doing time shifting on the variable t. So you are doing you are replacing t by t minus tau actually. So when you are replacing t by t minus tau, this will also be replaced, and this will also be replaced, and now you can see that your yb and ya are not equal at all. So because of that, it's not time invariant, it is time variant, because you are getting both outputs as different. So this particular one example that we have given you last time is time variant example. For this case, if you observe, that similar thing will happen. If you do a time shift of the input signal, it will be xt minus tau, and what you will get at the output is ya. But when you do a replacement of the variable t by t minus tau here, then all the variables that are involving t will be shifted by t minus tau, and now you can see both of them are not equal, the ones which we have here and the one output which we have here. So this also clearly shows that both the outputs are different, so the system is time variant. Okay, so this finishes off with the concepts of system related properties, which is linear and time invariant, and these two properties are very important in in signals and system course, because some way or the other it will help us in determining the output of the system when we will be using convolution. So it will help us in deriving the convolution equations, and because anyhow we are interested in what output we will be getting from the system, so some way or the other imposing the constraint of linear and time invariant property on the system will help us in solving a lot of problems. So in this course of signal system, we work with continuous time systems that are both linear and time invariant. So these systems will be the system that we will be working on will be linear and time invariant. So there will be no non-linear and non-time invariant time variant systems. If you are interested, then you can look onto the advanced courses where you have systems, non-linear systems also handled using some advanced mathematical techniques. But to simplify our workload and and use normal linear algebra for the course, normally what happens is we are constraining our domain to linear and time invariant topics. So we will also acronym this particular thing as CTLTI. So that means it's a continuous time linear time invariant system. So we can if you find somewhere in the books written as CTLTI, it will be represented as continuous time linear time invariant system. So that particular stuff is for CDLTI, or both of them are actually same. Okay, so now today what we will do is we will understand the differential equations for the continuous time system counterpart, and you might be wondering that why we are working on these differential equations. So as you recall that earlier in our earlier lecture we discussed that what we are interested in is to find how the system performs when the input is fed into it and the corresponding output that we get. So we want to know the performance of the system. So the performance of the system can be analyzed if we somehow or the other relate y with x. So if there is some way we can relate our y, the output of the output of the system, with the input that we are feeding to the system, then we can somehow or the other can quantify what type of system this is. So in order to work on this thing, what we do is we formulate the relationship between the output and the input in the form of differential equations. So if you see something like this, here, as I have shown you, this is just a random differential equation which I am keeping. So this random differential equation which I am showing you here actually gives you a relationship between the input signal that you are applying to the system and the output signal that you are getting through the system. But the modification that is done between the two, that is what output you are getting yt, is related to xt through this differential equation. So this differential equations are coming because of this system is actually modifying your xt, and your yt will be related to xt in this format. And note that this differential equation is a it can represent any system. Like if I write this differential equation to you, then this differential equation can be a representation for, let us say, I am not saying that that particular system will be the exact differential equation, that system will have this exact differential equation, but I am just giving you an example that this differential equation can have multiple you know systems. So for example, if you go to a mechanical system, maybe some complex system like this, having multiple springs attached to a mass, uh, can be if you solve the differential equation for this, then it might be the case that you will get this answer. See, I am just cooking up this example. It might be the case that it's not the situation, but you can get the idea what I'm trying to say here. And the second thing is, let us say if you have some bumpy ride going, there is some bumpy road here, and you have a car running on this road. So the type of acceleration or the pressure that this particular car is putting onto the road, if you try to model that scenario, it might be the case that that variable which you are considering may come up with this differential equation. So I think you must be getting the idea what I'm trying to say, that depending upon the systems, like whether it's a mechanical system or a electrical system, or any other system, or fluid mechanics, like if you have some water in the beaker, and if something if there is a piston which is trying to press this water, and we are trying to observe the pressure that this particular water is applying on this piston. So if we try to do the modeling of this particular system, it might be the situation that you will end up with this differential equation. So 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 this differential equation is basically maybe a governing equation for many systems. So if we quantify this system, if we quantify this general system, then we are quantifying all these individual systems which are over here. So if we say that this particular system is not linear and not time invariant, then this particular comment on this differential equation will apply to all the systems which we discussed. So all that systems which we will be discussing will be non-linear and time variant. And similarly, if I say that this system is uh, so all these properties which are actually related to the system, which we will study in a while. So all that conclusions that we will make for this particular differential equation, that conclusions will all be satisfied for all the systems which will govern that differential equation. So any questions here related to this? Okay. So let's see what we can do now. So what we will be doing in this course is we will be giving you few examples of one of the categories here. So I will not be dealing with any mechanical or any any fluid mechanics or any car type of example. What I will take is simple circuit examples. So maybe this differential equation is satisfied by some circuit theory architecture, like maybe R, L, C or something like this. We will see that. So as you are all aware of all these circuit examples which are R, L and C, so you can easily correlate uh, your intuition for this particular system, for this particular differential equation. So what we will do is we will discuss basic circuit theory examples to relate how we will be getting these differential equations for that. So as you all know, this is particularly this one is inductor, right? So the inductor is having a current that is flowing into it, and there is a voltage which is corresponding to that inductor. So the voltage developed in that inductor is related to the current as L di by dt. So it's as simple as that, you know it. So I think there is no problem in this. And also for the capacitor, the current flowing through the capacitor and the voltage induced in that will be related by this expression, which is ICT as C dV CT by dt. So these are the two equations which actually govern the current and voltages in the inductor and the capacitor. So let us try to see if we have a model which is a very simple model here. So this model is an RC circuit where we are applying an input signal xt and we are getting an arbitrary output signal yt. So we don't know what type of xt we have, but the yt that we are getting, we want to see what kind of yt you will get here. So if you want to solve this, I will be giving you one example of solving how we will be doing this, and in the second one you have to do it and let me know the answers in that case. So here, if you see, what we will do is we will apply KCL and KVL, as you must be you must have studied it in your earlier courses. So here, what we will do is we will be using a current IT which is flowing in this loop. So this current IT which is flowing into this loop can be so what we will do is we will calculate the voltage across the resistor. So the voltage across the resistor will be something like this. It will have a drop where we have plus here minus this side. So the voltage will be RIT, because we are assuming IT to be flowing in this loop, and we know that voltage across the resistor is I into R. So voltage will be written as this, and we know that the current that is flowing in this loop, which is IT, is also the same current which is flowing through the capacitor. So the current through the capacitor can be written as C dV CT. This we have just shown you here. The relationship between the current and the capacitor is related by this. So what we are doing now is ICT is equal to IT, because the same current is flowing in the capacitor. So what we can do is we can make this substitution here. And now what you will do is you will write KVL here in this loop, the Kirchhoff voltage rule. So in that case, what you will do is you will apply, that you are going up in you are going up here. So it will be so the KVL will be like plus xt minus IR minus IC dV CD equal to 0. So once you have this, you can change, you can bring these two terms onto the right side, and what you will get here is this this one. So it's as easy as that. So right now what I'm doing is I'm not writing this particular this one, the capacitor voltage, I'm not writing. So what I'm doing is I'm writing it as YT. So this will be YT here. So this will be YT here. So what we have is this expression here. this one. And now what you do is you just substitute the value of it which we got from this. So once you substitute that value of it here, you will get yt plus rc dy by dt equal to xt. And from here, if you observe that what you can do is you can reshuffle the terms and you can rewrite it like this. It's as simple as that. And then what you do, you divide it by rc. So if you divide it by rc, what you will get is this differential equation. So as you can see, you will have dy by dyt by dt plus 1 by rc yt equal to xt by rc. So the important thing here is in this situation, you have a differential equation which looks like this. So it's a dy by dt plus you have a constant a0 times yt equal to a constant b0 times xt. So it's something like this, dy by dt plus. So you can see it's a sort of differential equation which we have formulated here, and the coefficients that you have here, that is a0 and b0, are actually 1 by rc here. So as you can see now that this differential equation which we have formulated, it's not only the differential equation for this particular system. It's not only the differential equation for this particular system, it can be for any system. As we have given you that example here, as you can see, for multiple systems you can have this single solution. So same is here. So this is basically a differential equation which governs your input and output through this differential equation, and it's the system which actually makes this differential equation uh, thing between the input and the output. So the above equation actually describes the system behavior through input and output relationship. The differential equation actually serves as a complete description of the system. So as I told you earlier also, this differential equation is coming because of the system. So it will actually governs the it will describe the complete system. So we can conclude some important properties by learning about this differential equation, and we can get some intuitions from that. So as you know that this we have this xt here, so what we can do is we can write multiple xt's, like if it is a sine signal, then what will happen? If xt is your sine signal, then the response of the system can be found by solving the following differential equation. So what you can do, you can just substitute the value of xt as sine 2 pi f0t, and what you will get as the answer is, once you solve this differential equation, you will get the yt corresponding to this input signal as whatever the answer you will get. But if the science, if input is something like this, that is you are interested in finding out the system to respond to a single isolated pulse. So if having a unit amplitude and duration, so that you also know is represented by pi t. So it's a single isolated pulse. So if you want to solve the answer for yt when the input is excited by this single isolated pulse, then you can easily solve this differential equation and you will get the value of yt out. So, so this correspond. So, any questions here related to this discussion and why we are doing this? Okay. So, so the next thing is you have to find out the differential equation between the input and output for this circuit. So, I am giving you 5 to 6 minutes, and you have to come up with the differential equation, and I'll ask you like what will be the answer for this particular circuit. So, we have input signal xt here. Then we have a resistor R1, then we have a resistor R2, and then we have a capacitor C, and its corresponding output is Yt here. So what you have to do, you have to find a differential equation which relates Yt with Xt. I'm giving you right now it's 8:26, so maybe after 5 minutes, like 8:30 or 8:31, I will ask you the answer for this. Yes, yes.
So I am getting that
Hmm.
differential equation
Hmm.
y of t 1 plus R1 by
Just a second, just a
R2
second. I will write down here and then we will see. YT.
multiplication
Mm-hmm.
bracket 1
Huh.
plus R1 by R2
1 plus R1 by R2. Oh, okay.
equal to
Equal to
xt minus
xt minus
R1c
R1c
dyt by dt
dy t
by
by.
of t by t.
Okay. So
Sir,
second
can
one,
I say,
yeah, yeah.
sir, dyt by dt
Dy t by dt
plus
plus,
y of t
okay,
upon R2c
R2c,
equal to
hmm,
x of t
x of t,
upon R1c.
R1c. Okay. Any other solutions? Okay, so we will see now what answer we will get and check that from these two solutions. So let's do it. So let us say we have two currents which are flowing in this loop. One is I1t, another one is I2t. So if you write KVL in the first situation, that is in this loop, if you write the KVL, you will get xt minus I1t R1 minus I1 minus I2t R2 equal to 0. And so if you do that, and if you and if you do it for the second one, that is this loop, if you write KVL here, then you will get this as the second one. So so we have these two equations from two different loops, and then you have, and you know that I2t is related to the current that is flowing in this capacitor as C dVy by dt. So this is simple because the voltage across the capacitor we are taking it as YT. So I2t will be C dy t by dt. So now the thing is you can substitute this third equation in this second equation and get the value of I1t out. So if you do that, what value of I1t you will get? You will get this value of I1t, which is this one. This is the value of I1t, because you have to calculate I2 and I1 both, because once you are able to calculate I1 and I2 both, then you can put it here to get the answer. So here I1t is represented like this. So what you do now is you substitute I2t, you substitute I1t which you have got into 1, this equation. So if you substitute I1 and I2 both of them in this equation, then what will happen is you will get something like this if you try to solve it, and then you do some manipulations, and once you got these manipulations done, then you will get this answer. So I think none of the answers are right. If you see here for the second person's answer, I think you missed out a factor here. If I am correctly matching it with that,
Yes, sir. Sir, and
right?
actually the first one is right when you manipulate with the like if you just multiply or divide some factors, the first one is right.
Oh, this equation you are saying, right?
No, no,
Okay.
the person who answered with me.
Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some similarity, but this factor is also missing over there, and R1, R2, and then yeah, here also there is one factor missing, and yeah, and so the only factor which is missing is this. Yeah. So you can check back and see that. So the thing is, once you solve this, again I am telling you that this differential equation is not specifically for this particular circuit. It can be for any system. So once you have this differential equation in your hand, and if you do some analysis on this, and if you conclude something about this differential equation, that conclusions will copy to all of the systems which are actually governing this differential equation. So it's a first order differential equation. First important thing to be noted here, and you know that how to calculate the order of the differential equations, because it's a highest order of the derivative that appears in the differential equation will give you the order. So so this is a first order differential equation. Okay. So now once we are done with this, I have one more example to show you where we have a second order differential equation governing system. And again, let me draw that circuit here. So let's say you have a signal which is like this, xt, then we have these elements R, then you have L here, and then you have a capacitor this side. This is a capacitor here, and what you are doing now, you are actually calculating yt this side. So now I'll again give you 5 minutes to do this exercise. So here you try again, you have to do that same thing. You have to create a differential equation relating yt to your input xt. So, and let me know what result you will get from doing this. So right now it's 8:35. So at 8:40 I will ask you the differential equation for this. Yes.
Sir, I am getting
Hmm.
yt equal to
Just a second. Yt equal to
xt minus
xt minus
rc dy by dt
rc dy by dt
minus lc d2y by dt.
d2 by dt. Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting the same.
Same answer? Okay. Just a second. Yeah, this time you people are right. So let me derive it for all the class. So this answer is right. So now what you are doing is you are again the same thing. You have to put IT as the current flowing into the loop. So now when you write KVL here, so it will be XT minus ITR minus LDI T by dt, and then you can write it as minus YT, because you have to relate YT with XT, so we can write it as YT over here. So it's a voltage that is across the capacitor, so we can write it as YT. And again, you know that current flowing into this loop is related to the current flowing into the capacitor directly, so we can write it as dVCT over dt, which we know already. But you know that the voltage across the capacitor is equal to YT, so we can write it as dyT by dt. So this is the only substitution that you want to do here, because this IT is C dy by dt. So what you can do, you just substitute it here and you will get the answer. And the answer will be d square yt by dt square plus r by l dy t by dt plus 1 by lc yt equal to 1 by lc xt. So what I have done is I have actually divided the coefficient that you got on the right side of this differential equation, of this of this particular part. I divided that thing which was earlier LC here, so I divided it with that term on all the sides. So what we got is this differential equation, and here these are the constant coefficients. Actually, if you see, they are not involved with time, so there is no time involved here. So these coefficients that you have here with the differential equation are actually constant coefficients. So because there is no time variable involved here, and you can see the order of this differential equation is 2. So these type of equations are of special interest for us, as you can see now that through the example of electrical system, we formulated these differential equations. And again note that these differential equations are not restricted to only electrical equations. So if suppose if you are working with some other system, so the only thing that will change here will be these coefficients. Actually, you have to see that how this R will map to that particular system's variable, and how L here in the electrical system will map to that particular system's uh, uh, variable. So you have to map these variables, like R in this may actually relate to because R is a resistance. So if you are if you are going for the fluid mechanics problem, and if there is a piston here, so which tries to move up and down, so it can be the viscosity of this particular material which is actually creating this friction. Maybe I don't know exactly because I'm not a person of this fluid mechanics, so maybe the friction which is coming because of the viscosity of the material will relate to the R, that is the resistance. So you can keep the viscosity of the material here instead of R, and similarly for the inductance maybe something else in this particular system relate to that L, so you can substitute that value here, and similarly for the capacitance. So once you substitute the values here properly, then without solving this system, because this system may or may be very complex, so without solving this system you can actually get the input output relationship of this system using this differential equation, because you know that this particular system follows a second order differential equation between xt and yt. So maybe you can use the advantage of formulating this system here and then exactly copying it onto this system. So these differential equations are actually important in that sense, and as you know, the coefficients which I was saying here are constant coefficients here. So these equations are given a specific name, and the specific name is this. So we call these equations as constant coefficient ordinary differential equations. So we call them constant coefficient ordinary differential equations. So the important thing is the CT-LTI system can be modeled with ordinary differential equations that have these constant coefficients. So all the continuous time LTI systems which we are because we are mainly focusing on CT-LTI systems, so they can be easily formulated using the constant coefficient ordinary differential equations. So as you know, the term constant coefficient is because L and C, the parameters that you have here are all independent of time. They are not varying, so they are constant coefficients, and they are called as ordinary differential equations because there is no partial derivative involved here. So they are all normal derivatives. There is no partial derivatives, so that's why they are also called as ordinary differential equations. So this is basically the term that we coined for these particular type of differential equations. So now once we have this, now what we will do is we will write the general expression for these differential equations. So we have studied three different differential equations for three different circuits. So let us write a general differential equation which actually encompasses all these differential equations into a single differential equation. So the general differential equation, a general differential equation can be represented as an dn yt divided by dtn plus an minus 1 dn minus 1 yt divided by dtn minus 1 plus a1 dyt divided by dt plus a0 yt equal to, then you have different coefficient here along with the different order. So here you have dm xt divided by dtm, then we have bm minus 1 dm minus 1 over dtm minus 1 xt dot 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 plus b1, and then we have dxt divided by dt plus b0 xt. So you can see the differential equations that we have studied are some way or the other a subset of this common differential equation which I have written here, with some of the coefficients a's present over there and some of the coefficients b's present over there. and some of the orders will be there, and some of the orders which we are writing over here will be there. So here some of the orders will be there, for here some of the orders will be there. So in general you can write in this fashion, and in the compact way you can write it like this. So you can write it like this: k equal to 0 running from 0 to n ak, and then we have dk yt divided by dtk equal to k equal to 0 to m bk, and then we have here dk xt divided by dtk. So this is basically a general differential equation which encompasses all the equations that we have discussed earlier. So it has, this particular equation has family of solutions. So we have multiple solutions for this, but in order to find the unique solution, that is the unique solution we are looking for is the solution for this particular yt. So in order to find the unique solution of this yt, initial values of the output signal and its first n minus derivatives needs to be specified. So as you know, this particular differential equation can have multiple solutions. So the initial conditions are required so that we can get the unique value of yt. So along with this equation, which is used for finding the solutions yt from this differential equation, you have to have a following condition satisfied. Along with this, there is a constraint, and the constraint is actually that you should know the value of yt0. You should know the value of dyt by dt at time t equal to t0, and you should know the value of the dn minus 1 divided by dt n minus 1 yt at time t equal to t0. So all these values you should know in order to calculate the unique value of yt from this differential equation. And note that here the time t is greater than t0, for which you will find the solution for this particular differential equation. At time t equal to t0, it's a initial condition that you have to keep in these while solving these differential equations in order to get the unique solution yt from this. So any questions here related to this? So this is very important, that initial conditions should be kept in mind in order to find the unique solution. So in the next class, what we will do is we will discuss more about these differential equations and try to solve these differential equations using signals and systems point of view. So I think if you do not have any questions, then we can close this class today.